Today's question comes from Anonymous. What are seller concessions? Seller concessions. In every county, there's certain traditions about what closing costs are the buyers and what closing costs are the sellers when it comes to a real estate transaction. Most of the time, most of the closing costs are the burden of the buyer. When the buyer has to make a down payment and also has to pay closing costs, depending on that buyer, that could be a lot of money, and it could be too much of a burden. To make the transaction work, sometimes one tool we use is seller concessions. It's basically an agreement that the seller's going to use some of the proceeds from their sale, some of the money coming in from the sale, to help the buyer pay closing costs. There are certain limitations to this. Like, for example, if we do an FHA loan, the seller can concede up to 6% of the purchase price towards closing costs. So if you're buying a $100,000 house, the seller can actually give the buyer $6,000 towards their closing costs. That's a lot of money in that particular situation. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are a little bit less. They allow less. It's about 3%. It can go to closing costs or something called prepaids. Prepaids is basically your insurance and property taxes, but it cannot go into the purchasing of the house. So, for example, let's say you bought this $100,000 house. The closing costs are $5,000. They signed a contract saying they'll do 6%, so it's $6,000. Well, the limit at that point is $5,000. They can only pay the closing costs and prepaids. They can't actually pay for the house. So I hope that clears that up.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. And if you have any questions you'd like me to address in a future video, please leave it in the comments below. If you're in Florida and interested in a mortgage, check out the description for my links. Thanks again.